I stood in the marble hallway of the penthouse I'd called home for 3 years, my hands shaking as I stared at the surveillance footage on my phone. The woman on the screen wasn't just any woman. She was me. Or rather, someone who looked exactly like me. Walking into restaurants I'd never been to, signing documents I'd never seen, kissing him in ways I recognized but couldn't remember. My name is Iris, and the billionaire who called me his sister had been replacing me all along. 3 days ago, I thought I was part of the most powerful crime family in Europe. I thought Luca Moretti saved me, protected me, loved me like blood. But tonight, I discovered the truth. I wasn't his sister. I was his experiment. And the jealousy that consumed him wasn't about protecting me, it was about owning me. This is how a girl from nowhere became the obsession of a mafia-born billionaire, how love became possession, how family became a cage, and how I almost lost myself completely before learning who I really was. Before we go further into this story, I want to say a prayer. Bow your heads with me, wherever you are. Dear Heavenly Father, we come before you today acknowledging that life can be confusing, painful, and full of deception. We ask for your wisdom to see through lies, your strength to break free from toxic bonds, and your grace to heal from betrayal. Protect those watching who are trapped in relationships that steal their identity. Give them courage. Give them clarity. In your holy name, Amen. If this prayer touched your heart, type Amen in the comments right now. Let's build a community of people who believe in freedom and truth. Now let me take you back to where it all began. I grew up in a town most people couldn't find on a map. Greywater, a small industrial city in northern England, where the sky was always the color of old dishwater and dreams went to die. My mother left when I was 6. I don't remember her face, just the smell of her perfume and the sound of the door closing behind her. My father raised me alone, working double shifts at the steel factory. He was a good man, a tired man, a man who died when I was 19 from a heart that gave out long before his body did. I had no siblings, no extended family, no safety net, just a studio apartment above a laundromat and a job waitressing at a pub called the Rusty Anchor, where men twice my age would leave phone numbers on napkins soaked with beer. I wasn't special. I want you to understand that. I wasn't beautiful in the way that stops traffic. I was plain, forgettable, the kind of girl people's eyes slide right past. I had mousy brown hair I never styled, a small frame I hid in oversized sweaters, green eyes that I thought were my only decent feature, though I rarely looked anyone in the eye long enough for them to notice. I dreamed small dreams, maybe save enough to take a weekend trip to London, maybe meet a nice guy who worked an honest job, maybe not die in Greywater. That was the extent of my ambition. I had no idea that within 2 years I'd be living in a French château, wearing dresses worth more than my father earned in a decade, and calling one of the most dangerous men in Europe my brother. The night everything changed, I was 22 years old. I was closing the pub alone. It was raining, the kind of relentless northern rain that seeps into your bones. I'd sent the cook home early because we'd had maybe 5 customers all night. I was mopping the floor, my back to the door, when I heard it open. "We're closed," I called out without turning around. "I know," a voice replied, smooth, accented, dangerous. I turned. And that's when I first saw him. He stood in the doorway like he'd stepped out of a different world entirely. Tall, maybe 6'2", wearing a charcoal suit that fit him like it had been sewn onto his body. Dark hair slicked back, a face that was almost too beautiful, sharp cheekbones, a straight nose, lips that looked cruel even when relaxed. But it was his eyes that stopped me cold, steel gray, empty in a way that made my stomach drop. Behind him stood two men in black. They didn't speak, didn't move, just stood there, like shadows. "I'm sorry, but we're really closed," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "There's another pub 3 streets over." "You're Iris Ashford," he interrupted. My heart started pounding. "How do you know my name?" He stepped inside, water dripping from his Italian leather shoes onto my freshly mopped floor. "Because I've been looking for you." Every instinct screamed at me to run, but my legs wouldn't move. He reached into his jacket, and I flinched, but he only pulled out a photograph. He held it up. "Do you know this woman?" I stared at the picture. It was old. The colors faded. A young woman, maybe in her 20s, with dark hair and green eyes. She was smiling at the camera, her hand resting on her pregnant belly. "No," I whispered. "Who is she?" "My mother," he said quietly. "Isabel Moretti. She died 23 years ago, giving birth to me." I didn't understand what this had to do with me. "I'm sorry for your loss, but—" "And this," he continued, pulling out another photo, "is her sister, your mother, Lydia Ashford." The world tilted. The woman in the second photo looked almost identical to the first, except her hair was lighter, mousy brown, like mine. "That's impossible," I breathed. "My mother, she was nobody. She worked in a grocery store. She ran," he said. "From my family, from the life, from everything." He stepped closer. "Which means you're not nobody, Iris. You're my cousin. The only blood family I have left." I sank into the nearest chair, my mind reeling. "I don't understand. Why now? Why find me after all these years?" He crouched down in front of me, and for the first time, something flickered in those empty eyes. "Because everyone I've ever loved has been taken from me. My mother, my father, everyone. And when I learned I had family still alive, I made a promise to myself." "What promise?" "That I would never let you be alone again." I should have heard the obsession in those words, the warning. But all I heard was the answer to every prayer I'd whispered since my father died. Family. "What's your name?" I asked. "Luca," he said. "Luca Moretti." I didn't know that name then. Didn't know it belonged to one of the most feared families in European organized crime. Didn't know that his businesses included everything from smuggling to extortion to things I still don't have names for. All I knew was that someone was claiming me, wanting me. "What happens now?" I whispered. He smiled. It was the first time I'd seen him smile. It transformed his face, made him look almost human. "Now," he said, "you come home. Let me show you the life your mother ran from. Let me give you everything she denied you. I have a job, a lease. I can't just— I've already taken care of it." My blood went cold. "What?" "Your landlord has been compensated for the next year. Your employer has been informed you're resigning for family reasons. Your father's debts have been cleared." My father didn't have debts. He did. Hospital bills from his final weeks. Funeral costs you put on credit cards. It's all gone now. I stared at him. You had no right. I had every right, he said, standing up. Your family, and family takes care of family. He extended his hand. I should have run, should have screamed, should have called the police. But when you've been alone, as long as I had, when someone offers you belonging, you don't think clearly. I took his hand. Okay, I whispered. Take me home. He smiled again. Welcome to the family, little sister. That's what he called me from the first moment. Little sister. And God help me, I loved it. The first 6 months felt like living in a dream someone else was dreaming for me. Luca's home, our home, he kept insisting, was a restored château in the Loire Valley in France. Château Mirabel, 30 rooms, sprawling gardens, a private lake. The kind of place I'd only seen in movies. My bedroom alone was larger than my entire apartment in Greywater. Canopy bed, crystal chandelier, a balcony overlooking vineyards that stretched to the horizon. This is too much, I told him that first night. He was leaning against the door frame, watching me take it all in. It's not enough, he said. You're a Moretti. You deserve the world. I'm an Ashford, I corrected gently. Something dark crossed his face, but it was gone so quickly I thought I'd imagined it. Blood doesn't lie, Iris. You're one of us now. The staff treated me like I was made of glass. Breakfast in bed, clothes laid out, every whim anticipated before I could voice it. Luca bought me a new wardrobe, designer dresses, cashmere sweaters, shoes that cost more than I used to make in a month. At first, I protested. Then I stopped protesting. Then I started expecting it. That's how it happens, you see. Luxury becomes normal faster than you'd think. He introduced me to his world slowly. Dinners with business associates in Monaco, theatre in Prague, a weekend in Santorini on his yacht. What exactly is your business? I asked him once, 3 months in. We were sitting on the terrace after dinner, drinking wine that cost more than my old car. Import-export, he said smoothly. Logistics, moving goods from one place to another. That's vague, he smiled. It's intentionally vague. Luca? Iris? He reached across the table and took my hand. There are parts of my life that are complicated, messy. I keep them separate to protect you. All you need to know is that you're safe. Always. I wanted to push, but he looked at me with such affection, such need, that I let it go. That was my first mistake, letting things go. He started calling me his sister publicly, introducing me as Iris Moretti, my cousin, but I think of her as my sister. I corrected him the first few times. Then I stopped. It felt good, being claimed like that, being part of something. People treated me differently when they knew I was connected to Luca. They smiled wider, moved faster, said yes before I finished asking questions. Power, I learned, is addictive. But what I didn't realize was that every introduction, every public claim was a chain being locked into place. The jealousy started small. 4 months in, I met a man at a charity gala in Brussels. His name was Thomas. He was a journalist, funny and kind, with warm brown eyes and an easy laugh. We talked for maybe 20 minutes about nothing important. Books, travel, the terrible canapés. When I returned to our table, Luca was silent. His jaw was tight. He seemed nice, I said carefully. He's a reporter for a tabloid rag, Luca said coldly. He was using you to get information about me. He didn't ask me anything about you. Not yet. The next week, I saw a news article. Thomas had been arrested for tax fraud. The charges were dropped eventually, but his career was destroyed. I didn't ask if Luca was involved. I didn't want to know. The second incident was worse. 6 months in, Luca hired a tutor for me, a woman named Sophie, who taught me French, art history, and etiquette. The things I'd need to truly belong in Luca's world. Sophie was patient and kind. In her 40s, elegant, with a quick wit. We became friendly. She'd stay after lessons sometimes, and we'd have tea and talk. One afternoon, Luca came home early and found us laughing together in the library. He said nothing at the time. The next day, Sophie was gone. "Where is she?" I asked the house manager. "Her contract was terminated," he said uncomfortably. I confronted Luca that evening. "You fired Sophie. Why?" "You were getting too attached," he said simply. "She was my teacher. She was an employee. You were confusing the relationship. I was making a friend." "You don't need friends." He stepped closer, his voice softening. "You have me. I'm your family. I'm all you need." "Luca, that's not healthy." "Healthy?" He laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Iris, the world is full of people who will use you, betray you, hurt you. I'm trying to protect you. By isolating me, by keeping you safe." He cupped my face in his hands. "You're all I have. Don't you see? I can't lose you. I won't." There were tears in his eyes. Real tears. My anger dissolved into guilt. Here was this powerful man, this billionaire, crying because he was afraid of losing me. "You won't lose me," I whispered. "I'm not going anywhere. Promise me." "I promise." He pulled me into his arms, holding me so tightly I could barely breathe. I told myself this was love, family love, fierce and protective. But a voice in the back of my mind whispered the truth. This wasn't protection, it was possession, and I was already too deep to see the difference. Over the next several months, the pattern became clearer. Anyone I showed interest in, friendly or romantic, disappeared from my life. A driver who complimented my dress was fired. A woman I chatted with at a gallery never returned my calls. A distant cousin of Luca's, who visited for a weekend and made me laugh, was suddenly transferred to a business opportunity in Argentina. But Luca was always there, attentive, generous, loving. He'd surprise me with gifts, a first edition of my favorite book, a piano when I mentioned I'd always wanted to learn, a rescue dog, a golden retriever I named Atlas, because I'd seemed lonely. He'd have movie nights with me, just the two of us, watching old films and eating popcorn like normal siblings. He'd listen when I talked about my father, my childhood, my fears. He made me feel seen, in a way no one ever had. So I forgave the jealousy, explained it away. He's been through so much loss, I'd tell myself. He's just afraid of being alone again. I didn't realize I was training myself to accept the unacceptable. By the 1-year mark, my entire world was Luca. I had no friends outside the household, no hobbies he didn't approve, no opinions he hadn't shaped. I was living in a golden cage, and I'd helped build it. The worst part? I was happy, or at least I thought I was. The first real crack in the illusion came on a Tuesday afternoon, 13 months after I'd moved in. I was looking for Atlas. He'd run off during our walk in the gardens, and I thought he might have gone into the East Wing, a section of the château I rarely visited because Luca used it for his offices. I called Atlas's name, pushing open doors, until I found one that was locked. That was odd. None of the doors in the château were ever locked except Luca's private study. I tried the handle again. Definitely locked. "Can I help you, Miss Iris?" I jumped. Bernard, Luca's head of security, had appeared behind me. He was always doing that, materializing out of nowhere. "I'm looking for Atlas," I said. "Have you seen him?" "He's in the kitchen. Cook is giving him treats." Bernard smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "You shouldn't be in this wing. Mr. Moretti doesn't like people disturbing his work." "I wasn't disturbing anything. The door is locked. For a reason." Something in his tone made my spine straighten. "What's behind that door, Bernard?" "Storage. Nothing interesting." "Then why lock it?" "Because Mr. Moretti values his privacy. As should you." It was the first time any staff member had spoken to me with anything other than deference. I wanted to push back, but something in Bernard's eyes warned me not to. "Of course," I said quietly. "I'll go find Atlas." As I walked away, I felt Bernard's eyes on my back. That night at dinner, Luca was in a good mood. He'd closed some big deal and opened a bottle of wine from the cellar, something rare and expensive. "To family," he toasted, raising his glass. "To family," I echoed. We talked about nothing important. A charity gala coming up, a trip he wanted to take to the Scottish Highlands, whether we should renovate the library. I almost didn't bring it up, but the wine made me brave. "I got lost in the East Wing today," I said casually, "looking for Atlas." Luca's hand paused midway to his mouth. "Just for a second." "Did you?" There's a locked door. I was curious what you keep in there." He set down his fork carefully. "Why were you in the East Wing?" "I told you. Atlas ran off. The staff should have found him. I wanted to do it myself. I'm not helpless, Luca." "I never said you were." He smiled, but it was tight. "The locked room is just storage, files, old business documents, boring stuff." "Then why lock it?" "Because some of those documents are sensitive, confidential. I wouldn't read your business files." "I know you wouldn't intentionally." He reached across the table and took my hand. "But if something happened, if authorities ever came looking, if you were questioned, I don't want you to have any knowledge that could get you in trouble. Plausible deniability. Understand?" It made sense. Sort of. "Okay," I said. But that night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about that locked door, about Bernard's expression, about the way Luca's entire demeanor had changed when I mentioned it. Over the next few weeks, I started noticing other things. Hushed phone calls that Luca would end abruptly when I entered the room. Meetings in his study that ran late into the night, with men who arrived in black cars and left looking nervous. A delivery at 3 in the morning. I heard the trucks from my bedroom. When I asked Luca about it the next day, he said he didn't know what I was talking about. I started finding excuses to walk past the East Wing. The locked door haunted me. One night, I heard sounds coming from behind it. Muffled, almost like crying. I pressed my ear to the door. Definitely crying. A woman's voice. My hand flew to the handle, but before I could knock, Bernard appeared. "Miss Iris, you should be in bed." "There's someone in there," I said. "Someone crying." "You're mistaken. That room is empty." "I heard. You're tired. You've been stressed with the gala planning. Let me walk you back to your room." It wasn't a request. Bernard escorted me back, and I noticed for the first time how his hand hovered near the gun at his waist. I wasn't a guest being helped. I was an inmate being controlled. I started testing my boundaries. I told Luca I wanted to visit London for a few days, just a small trip, see some museums. "I'll come with you," he said immediately. I was hoping to go alone, just a few days to myself. His smile vanished. "Why would you want to be away from me?" "Not away from you, just a little independence. I haven't been on my own in over a year." "You're not a prisoner, Iris." "I know. That's why I'm asking permission instead of just going." "Wrong thing to say." His eyes went cold. "You don't need to ask permission. But if you're planning to leave, I'd like to know why you're suddenly unhappy here." "I'm not unhappy. You have everything you could possibly want. A home, family, safety, and it's not enough." "That's not what I'm saying." "Then what are you saying?" I didn't know how to answer without making it worse. "Never mind," I said quietly. "It was just a thought." "Good." He softened immediately, pulling me into a hug. "Because I have something special planned for your birthday next month. You won't want to miss it." I hugged him back, but my mind was racing. When had I become afraid of him? The breaking point came 3 days later. I found a phone in the garden. Not my phone. I'd left mine charging in my room. This was someone else's, lying in the grass near the hedge maze. I picked it up. It was locked, but notifications were lighting up the screen. Messages from someone named R. "Did you deliver the package? Boss wants confirmation by midnight. Don't screw this up." I pressed the home button. The wallpaper was a photo of Bernard with a woman and 2 kids. This was Bernard's phone. I should have given it back immediately, but something made me hold on to it. I took it to my room and hid it under my mattress. That night, I heard shouting from downstairs. Bernard and Luca arguing. "Can't find it anywhere. Need that phone. It has everything. Check the damn surveillance." Surveillance. The word hit me like ice water. I went to my balcony and looked up. There, tucked into the eaves, was a tiny camera, pointed at my room. I checked the bathroom, another one, my sitting room, 2 more. Every room I occupied was being watched. I ran to my bedroom door and locked it, my heart hammering. Then I pulled out Bernard's phone and started going through it. It took me 20 minutes to guess the password. His daughter's birthday, based on the wallpaper photo. What I found made my blood run cold. Messages about shipments, bribes, payoffs, photos of people I didn't recognize, marked with red X's, and a folder labeled Iris Project. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside were hundreds of photos of me, dating back years, me walking to work in Greywater, me grocery shopping, me at my father's funeral. Photos from before Luca ever came to find me. He'd been watching me for years, and underneath the photos was a document, a report. Subject, Iris Ashford status, phenotype match, successful resemblance to IM, 87% psychological profile, isolated, vulnerable, malleable. Recommendation, proceed with acquisition IM. Isabel Moretti, Luca's mother. I looked like his mother. This wasn't about family. This was never about family. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on my bed with Bernard's phone, reading through everything, piecing together the truth I'd been too desperate to see. Luca wasn't my cousin. The DNA test he'd shown me, the one that proved we were related, was fake. Had to be. This whole thing was a lie. But why? Why go through all this trouble? Why bring me here? Treat me like family. Isolate me. Watch me. The answer was in another folder on the phone. Isabel Project, Phase 2. Inside were architectural plans, medical equipment orders, and a series of emails between Luca and someone identified only as Dr. K. The psychological conditioning is progressing well. Subject is bonded and compliant. Physical resemblance remains strong. Minor cosmetic adjustments may enhance similarity. Recommend beginning replacement protocol within 6 months. Subject's original identity can be permanently erased once substitute is fully trained. Replacement protocol. Substitute. I was going to be sick. I clicked on another file, a video. It took me a moment to process what I was seeing. It was me, walking through a restaurant in Milan, wearing a red dress I'd never owned, laughing with people I'd never met. But it wasn't me. The woman looked like me, moved like me, but her smile was sharper, more confident. She touched the man next to her, Luca, with an intimacy that made my skin crawl. The date stamp on the video was from 2 weeks ago, when I'd been here, at the château, never left. Someone was living my life while I was locked away being, what? Studied, copied. I clicked through more videos. The woman, my double, at business meetings, at galas, in Luca's bed. That last one broke something in me. I clapped my hand over my mouth to stop myself from screaming. Luca wasn't trying to protect me. He was trying to replace his mother. And I was the raw material. The door to my bedroom opened. I hadn't heard footsteps, hadn't heard the lock click. But suddenly, Luca was standing there in the doorway, backlit by the hallway lights, looking at me with those empty grey eyes. "You found Bernard's phone," he said calmly. I couldn't speak, could barely breathe. He stepped into the room, closing the door behind him. I was wondering where that went. He's been tearing the place apart looking for it. "Who am I?" I whispered. "You're Iris Ashford. You're 23 years old. You were born in Greywater. Your father was—" "Who am I to you?" He tilted his head, studying me. "You're my sister. We're not related." "No," he agreed. "We're not." The DNA test was fabricated, obviously. My mind was screaming at me to run, but my legs wouldn't move. "Why?" Luca sat down on the edge of my bed, casual as if we were discussing the weather. "My mother was the only person who ever loved me, truly loved me. When she died, I was born. They told me I killed her, that she bled out bringing me into the world. That's not your fault, isn't it?" He looked at me, and for the first time, I saw the madness lurking behind his eyes. I spent my whole life trying to bring her back, to feel what she must have felt, to understand the woman who gave everything for me. "Luca, you need help." I tried everything, mediums, therapy, religion. Nothing worked. She was gone. He reached out and touched my hair. I flinched. And then I saw a photo, a random photo in a cold case file my organization acquired. A woman in Greywater. The resemblance to my mother was extraordinary. "So you found me." "So I found you," he confirmed. And I had a thought. What if I could recreate her? Not bring her back, that's impossible, but build someone who could be her, who could fill that void. "I'm not your mother." "No, but you could be." He stroked my cheek. "You have her face, her voice. With time, training, conditioning, you could have her mannerisms, her personality. You could be everything she was." "You're insane." "Probably, He smiled. But I'm also a billionaire with unlimited resources and absolutely nothing to lose. So I created a plan. Bring you here. Make you trust me. Love me. Depend on me. Isolate you from everyone else. And slowly, carefully, mold you into the woman I need you to be. Tears were streaming down my face. And the other woman? My double? Ah, you saw Sienna. He sounded pleased. She's my insurance, in case you broke before you were ready, in case the conditioning failed. She's been trained to be you in the outside world, while the real you stays here with me. Let me go. I can't do that. Luca, please. You promised you'd never leave me. His hand moved to my throat, not squeezing, just resting there, a threat. Remember? You promised. I didn't know. Doesn't matter. A promise is a promise. I grabbed his wrist, trying to pull his hand away. This is kidnapping. It's illegal. It's love. His eyes bored into mine. Twisted, broken, obsessive love. But love, nonetheless. I love you, Iris. Not as a sister. Not as a replacement. As the only person in the world who can fill the emptiness inside me. That's not love. Maybe not your definition. He leaned closer. But it's mine. He kissed my forehead and stood up. I'm going to take the phone now. And tomorrow, we're going to pretend this conversation never happened. You'll go back to being my sweet, grateful little sister. And I'll go back to preparing you for your true purpose. And if I refuse, he walked to the door and paused. There's a room in the east wing, the locked one you were so curious about. Would you like to meet the woman who refused? My blood turned to ice. Her name was Clara. She looked like my mother too. Not as much as you, but close. She was my first attempt 3 years ago. His voice was conversational, detached. She fought, screamed, tried to escape. It was exhausting. So I kept her in that room until she learned to cooperate. Is she still there? What do you think? The crying I'd heard, the muffled sobs. You can't do this, I whispered. I already have. He opened the door. Good night, Iris. I love you. The door closed. The lock clicked, and I realized I was never going to leave this place alive. I spent the rest of the night curled in a ball on my bed, shaking. Every plan I tried to make fell apart in my mind. The château was in the middle of nowhere. I had no phone, no money, no way to contact anyone. Even if I ran, where would I go? The nearest town was 15 kilometers away. The staff were all loyal to Luca. The property was surrounded by walls and security cameras. I was trapped. As dawn broke, I heard the lock click again. A maid entered with breakfast, not the usual cheerful greeting. She wouldn't meet my eyes. Eat, she said quietly. It will be easier if you eat. Easier for who? She set the tray down and left without answering. I stared at the food. Was it drugged? Was this how he'd keep me compliant? I didn't eat. An hour later, Luca arrived. You should eat, he said, noting the untouched tray. I'm not hungry. Iris, don't call me that. You don't get to use my name anymore. He sighed like I was a child throwing a tantrum. This is harder than it needs to be. I'm offering you a good life, comfort, security. All I ask in return is your cooperation. You're asking for my soul. I'm asking for your love. You can't force someone to love you. Can't I? He sat down across from me. You already loved me once, when you thought I was your family, when you thought I was protecting you. That love was real, wasn't it? I wanted to deny it, but I couldn't. It was based on lies, I said. All love is based on lies. We fall in love with who we think someone is, not who they actually are. He leaned forward. I've been more honest with you than most people are with their partners. I've told you exactly what I want, what I need. You've told me I'm a prisoner. You're not a prisoner. You're family. There's a difference. Then let me leave. No. The simplicity of it was terrifying. I tried a different approach. What about Sienna? You're double for me? If she can play me in the outside world, why do you need me at all? Because she's an actress, a very good one, but still just a performer. She doesn't have your essence, your soul. He reached for my hand. I pulled away. I need the real you, Iris. Only you can fill the void. I can't be your mother. I won't. You already are. You just don't see it yet. He stood up. I'm going to give you some time to adjust. A few days alone to think. No pressure, no expectations, just time. Alone in a locked room? That's called solitary confinement. Call it what you want. He walked to the door. I'll check on you tomorrow. Try to eat something. The door locked behind him. The next 3 days were the longest of my life. No one came except to deliver food 3 times a day. I tried talking to the staff, begging them to help me, but they acted like I wasn't speaking. I screamed. I threw things. I pounded on the door until my hands were bruised. Nothing. The windows were sealed. I couldn't open them more than a few inches, not enough to squeeze through. I was completely and utterly alone. On the 4th day, I heard screaming from somewhere else in the château. A woman's voice, hoarse, desperate. Please, let me out. I'll do anything. Please. Clara, the woman in the locked room. I pressed my ear to my door, listening to her beg until her voice gave out. Then silence. That night, Luca returned. Have you thought about what I said? He asked. I'd made a decision, the only decision I could make. I'll cooperate, I said quietly. His face lit up. Really? On one condition. The light dimmed. You're not in a position to make conditions. Let Clara go. He blinked. What? The woman in the East Wing. Let her go. Release her. Give her money, a new identity, whatever. Just let her go. Why would you care about her? Because she's a person. Because she doesn't deserve this. Lucas studied me for a long moment. Then he smiled. You have your mother's heart. She was always trying to save people too. You didn't know her? I know her better than anyone. He considered. All right, I'll let Clara go. Promise me. I promise. On my mother's grave. I didn't trust him. But what choice did I have? Then I'll cooperate, I said. Tell me what you need me to do. Over the next 2 weeks, I played the role of the compliant captive. Luca brought in a therapist, Dr. K from the emails, who asked me questions about my childhood, my relationship with my father, my dreams. I lied through every session. Luca started having dinner with me again, talking about his mother, showing me videos of her, asking me to wear her clothes. I did it all with a smile. Inside, I was screaming. But I was also watching, learning, mapping the chateau's security patterns, noting when guards changed shifts, memorizing routines. And I was befriending the one person who seemed conflicted about my captivity. Marie, the youngest maid. She was 19, sweet, nervous around Luca. One day, as she brought my lunch, I asked her quietly, Do you have family, Marie? She nodded. A sister, in Lyon. You must miss her. I do. Does she know where you are? Marie's hands trembled. I'm not supposed to talk about... I know. I'm sorry. I just get lonely. She looked at me with something like pity. I'll pray for you, Miss Iris. Thank you, I whispered. The next day, I left a note under my pillow. A gamble. Marie, please help me. I'm being held here against my will. Contact the police. I'll protect you. I promise. Iris. When she came to make my bed, I watched from across the room, heart pounding. She found the note, read it, looked at me, and slipped it into her pocket. 3 days later, nothing had happened. My hope died. Marie had either ignored the note or reported it to Luca. I was truly alone. But then, on the 4th night, my door unlocked. Not Luca, not Bernard. Marie. We have 10 minutes, she whispered. During the guard change, I'll take you to the service exit. Marie, I have a sister. If someone was keeping her prisoner, I'd want someone to help. Come on. I grabbed nothing, just ran. She led me through the servant corridors, narrow hallways I'd never known existed, down to the basement level. We were almost to the exit when alarms started blaring. Run, Marie screamed. I ran, out the service door, across the dark grounds toward the tree line. Behind me, I heard shouts, dogs barking, lights flooding the lawn. I didn't look back. I hit the forest and kept running, branches tearing at my skin, my lungs burning. I ran until I couldn't run anymore, and then I heard the helicopter. I hid under a fallen log as the helicopter's searchlights swept over the forest. They were hunting me. I stayed there for hours, shivering, until the helicopter finally moved on. Then I started walking. I had no idea where I was going, just away. By dawn, I stumbled onto a road. A delivery truck was approaching. I stepped into its path, waving my arms. The driver, a middle-aged man with a kind face, stopped. "Jesus, are you all right?" he asked in French. "Please," I gasped. "I need help. I need the police." He took one look at my torn clothes, my wild eyes, and nodded. "Get in." He drove me to the nearest town, a small place called Beaumont, and took me straight to the police station. I told them everything: the kidnapping, the impersonation, Clara, the château. The officers exchanged glances. "Château Mirabelle," one of them said. "That belongs to Luca Moretti." "Yes, he's holding me prisoner." More glances. "Miss, Luca Moretti is a respected businessman. He's donated millions to this region. He's a criminal. He kidnapped me." "Do you have proof?" I had nothing. No phone, no documents, nothing. "There's another woman there, Clara. She's locked in the East Wing. If you go there, we can't just raid the home of a prominent citizen without evidence." "I'm the evidence," the senior officer sighed. "We'll look into it. In the meantime, we'll put you in protective custody." They put me in a holding room and told me to wait. I waited for 6 hours. Finally, the door opened. Not a police officer. Luca. My blood ran cold. "Hello, little sister," he said softly. "You gave us quite a scare." "How?" "I own this town, Iris. The police, the mayor, everyone." He stepped inside, and the door closed behind him. "Did you really think you could run from me?" "Stay away from me. The officers have informed me that you're confused, mentally unwell, suffering from delusions." He pulled out a document. "Your medical records indicate a history of instability following your father's death. Paranoia, dissociative episodes." "That's fake." "Is it? Or are you really Iris Ashford?" He smiled. Because the woman with your face who's been living in Milan for the past year would beg to differ. Sienna, my double. He'd built an entire false life for her. Witnesses who would swear I'd been living freely. Records, photos. You can't do this, I whispered. I already have. Now we can do this the easy way. You come home with me voluntarily. We tell the police this was a misunderstanding. Or the hard way. What's the hard way? I commit you to a psychiatric facility, one I own, where you'll spend the rest of your life in a padded room. Checkmate. I had no proof, no allies, no hope. Unless… What about Marie? I asked. She helped me escape. She knows the truth. Something flickered in his eyes. Marie is no longer with us. My heart stopped. What did you do? Nothing. She simply decided to return to Lyon. Family emergency. His tone made it clear Marie would never be found. I'd gotten her killed. The weight of it crushed me. Come home, Iris, Luca said, extending his hand. Please, I don't want to hurt you. I just want to love you. I looked at his hand, at his face, at the monster wearing a human mask, and I took his hand. Okay, I whispered. But as we walked out of the police station, past officers who wouldn't meet my eyes, I made a silent vow. I would destroy him. Not today, not tomorrow, but someday. I'd make him pay for everything. Back at the château, Luca was gentle, almost apologetic. I know you're angry, he said, but you'll understand eventually. This is for the best. He didn't lock me in my room this time, didn't restrict my movement, because he didn't need to. He'd proven I had nowhere to go, no one to turn to. I was his. But he'd made one mistake. He'd underestimated how much rage can masquerade as compliance. I started being the perfect sister, affectionate, agreeable, interested in his work. Tell me about your business, I'd say. I want to understand your world. Luca, thrilled by my apparent change of heart, started opening up. He showed me his operations, the shipping routes, the front companies, the politicians in his pocket. He thought he was grooming me to be his partner. He was actually giving me ammunition. I memorized everything, names, dates, accounts, and I started stealing documents, little things he wouldn't miss. Photos on my hidden phone, the one item I'd managed to steal from Bernard's office. 3 months after my failed escape, I had enough evidence to bring down his entire organization. But I couldn't go to the police. He owned them. I needed someone bigger. One evening, Luca announced we were attending a gala in Paris. I want to show you off, he said. Let the world see my beautiful sister. It was my chance. At the gala, surrounded by Europe's elite, I spotted my target. Investigative journalist, award-winning, incorruptible. Her name was Anya Petrov. I'd read about her. She'd taken down oligarchs, exposed corruption, survived 3 assassination attempts. If anyone could help me, it was her. I waited until Luca was distracted by business associates, then approached her. Miss Petrov, I said quietly, I have a story for you about Luca Moretti. She raised an eyebrow. I'm listening. Not here. I'll send you everything. But you have to promise me something. What? When you publish it, you protect a girl named Clara. She's being held at Château Mirabel. Get her out first. Anya studied me. Who are you? Someone who doesn't exist, I said. Not anymore. I slipped her a paper with an encrypted email address, one I'd set up using the Château's library computer, and walked away. That night, I uploaded everything to her. Every document, every photo, every recording. And I waited. 2 weeks later, the story broke. The headline was everywhere. Billionaire crime lord, exposed. Kidnapping, fraud, and a dead woman's shadow. Anya Petrov had published everything. I watched from the library as police, real police, national authorities that Luka didn't own, swarmed the château. Luka found me there. His face was white, hands shaking. "What did you do?" he whispered. "I kept my promise," I said calmly. "I didn't leave you. I destroyed you from the inside. They have everything. Bank accounts, smuggling routes, names." His eyes were wild. "How?" "You taught me. You showed me your world. You trusted me. I loved you. You loved a ghost." I stood up. "I was never going to be her, Luka. I was never going to be your mother. I'm Iris Ashford, and you should have left me in Greywater." He lunged at me, but Bernard was faster. Not to protect Luka, to protect me. "It's over, sir," Bernard said, restraining him. I stared at Bernard. "Why?" "I have a daughter," he said quietly. "Your age. When I looked at you, I saw her, and I hated myself." He released Luka into the custody of the arriving officers. "I'm sorry I didn't help you sooner." The police led Luka away in handcuffs. He didn't fight, didn't scream, just looked at me with empty eyes. "I would have given you everything," he said. "You took everything," I replied. They found Clara in the East Wing, alive. Malnourished and traumatized, but alive. Anya Petrov was there too, documenting everything. "You're a hero," she told me. "I'm a survivor," I corrected. The investigation revealed the full extent of Luka's obsession. He'd been planning this for 7 years. Found me when I was 16. Watched me grow up. Waited until I was isolated enough to be vulnerable. The DNA test was fake. The family connection was fake. Even my mother's sister story was fabricated. He'd found a woman who looked like his mother, tracked her down, and built an entire false narrative. I wasn't related to the Morettis at all. I was just a girl who looked like a dead woman. Sienna, my double, turned herself in. She'd been an actress who thought she was playing a role for a film. By the time she realized the truth, she was in too deep. The chateau was seized. Luka's assets were frozen, and I was free. That was 18 months ago. Luka Moretti is serving 25 to life in a maximum security prison. He'll never see daylight again. His organization collapsed. The people he hurt got justice, or as close as they could. Clara and I meet for coffee sometimes. We don't talk about what happened. We just exist in each other's presence. Two women who survived the same nightmare. Bernard testified against Luka in exchange for a reduced sentence. 5 years. He writes to me sometimes. I don't write back, but I read his letters. Sienna disappeared. I heard she moved to Canada and changed her name. I hope she finds peace. As for me, I went back to Greywater. Not to stay, I could never stay, but to visit my father's grave. I told him everything. About the chateau, the lies, the escape, and I thanked him, because his simple, honest love was the thing that kept me human when someone tried to turn me into a ghost. I used the reward money from Anya's story. She insisted I deserved it, to go to university, psychology. I want to help people who've been through what I experienced. I want to help people recognize the difference between love and possession. I live in a small apartment in Edinburgh now. Nothing fancy, no marble floors or crystal chandeliers, but it's mine. I choose who enters. I choose when to leave. I choose my own life. And that's worth more than all the wealth in the world. Sometimes, late at night, I still have nightmares. I dream I'm back in that locked room, that the escape was just another layer of his control. But then I wake up. I feel the cool Scottish air through my window. I hear the city sounds, and I remember I'm free. The girl from Greywater who dreamed of London made it further than she ever imagined. Not into a fairy tale, not into luxury, but into herself. And that's the only place I ever needed to be. If you're still with me, thank you for listening to my story. I know it was dark. I know it was painful. But I wanted to share it because somewhere out there, someone needs to hear this. If someone isolates you from everyone you love, that's not protection. It's control. If someone monitors your every move, that's not care. It's captivity. If someone says, I love you, but treats you like property, that's not love. It's ownership. Real love gives you wings. It doesn't clip them. Real family builds you up. It doesn't tear you down and rebuild you in someone else's image. And if you're in a situation like I was, please know, it's not your fault. You're not crazy. You're not broken. You're trapped. But traps can be escaped. It might take time. It might take help. It might take more courage than you think you have. But you have it. I know you do. Because I didn't think I had it either. And here I am. Before I let you go, I want to ask you something. If this story moved you, if it helped you, if it made you think about your own relationships or someone you know who might be in danger, will you do me a favor? Subscribe to this channel, not just for me, but for yourself. Let this be a reminder that you listened, you learned, and you're part of a community that believes in freedom, truth, and genuine love. Hit that subscribe button. It would mean the world to me. And leave a comment telling me, what did this story teach you? What will you take away from Iris's journey? I read every single comment. Your words give me strength to keep sharing my truth. Thank you for being here with me tonight. Thank you for listening. Thank you for caring. Stay safe. Stay strong. Stay free. And remember, you're worth more than anyone's obsession. You're worth genuine love. Don't settle for anything less. This is Iris signing off. Until next time.